But we have covered Jeffrey Epstein a lot.
I would hope. I think.
A little less in recent years because, frankly,
not
a lot of new developments in the case.
Yeah.
But it's time to go back in time a little bit to Jeffrey Epstein's birth, which I was present at. Coaxing him out.
What were you doing?
A come hither stare.
Just staring
And
down.
a finger wag. Get out here, you little baby.
Don't do that.
Oh, no. I see what you're
Don't-
saying. But no, it wasn't like that at all. Plus, it was the C-section. So Jeffrey Epstein, from rather humble beginnings, he's got his brother Mark. He gets a job at the Dalton School, very famous school where Liz and I met each other in the summer of 1994 when we were both there for remedial school, learning how to read at the ages of 30 and 14, respectively. I, of course, was 30. But it's a very famous, like private school in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Lots of bigwigs, famous people, types people went there. Alan, what's his name? Who's the fella? Not Alan. The guy on fucking CNN.
Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper went there, which I guess means that Immortal Technique maybe did too.
No,
Didn't they have
that's
a
Chris
beef?
Hayes.
That's Chris Hayes. You're right. Never mind. By the way, Immortal Technique, if you're listening to this, we'd love to have you on the show. I have DM'd you before and you did not respond to me.
And also would love to hear the story about you beating up Chris Hayes.
I would love to hear that. Was it Chris? No, I think it was Anderson Cooper. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It was one of those guys. Never mind. Epstein is working there. And it's very strange because this isn't like a fancy, nice, rich private school.
Yeah.
And Epstein doesn't exactly have a college degree.
No, prior to this, he was driving a taxi cab.
Yeah, he is. And I think before that, his first job was hot dog salesman. Which I'm
Respect.
sure, respect. Also pause. But he's like a math teacher there, which I think is very strange. Funny like yearbook pictures of him in like a wide collar, welcome back Cotter ass fucking look there. Big ass afro. I think I don't want to say favorite, because I think there's bad connotations to that, but the picture of Jeffrey Epstein I like looking at, I'm not going to say the most, but the only one I like looking at, is, do you know the one where he's like sort of like, and this is slumpy, like, he's got like a DSA guy style body, shirtless, walking down the beach, and he's like looking down. He's got a big ass afro.
Where it's like a little. Was that for one of the Bachelor?
No. It's like of him as a young man.
Oh, okay.
Like I'll show it to you after, but it's like, there's a human side of Jeffrey there
Interesting.
that we don't often see from the carefully manicured image.
Yeah.
But he gets the job the rumor is that he was hired by Donald Barr.
Yes.
Former OSS, which is the precursor to the CIA officer, and the father of Trump's Attorney General, William Billiam Barr.
Yeah. So not only were Rupert Murdoch's kids matriculating around this time, but also, crucially, Ace Greenberg, the head of Bear Stearns, who Trump just mentioned was his personal banker for 5 years when he was writing The Art of the Deal. Now, the New York Times years and years ago reported that students felt kind of weird about Epstein.
Yeah, that he he was kind of dressed like he wore fur coats. Can you imagine?
You could do a lot of crazy shit in the 70s.
Your teacher comes to class with fur coats and is like,
it's like, hey, daddy-o.
let's rap about algebra real quick right now.
I bet he did.
He's like smoking it like he's like a cheroot
A bunch
cigarette.
of fucking rich kids on the Upper East Side. They're probably eating it up. They're like, oh my God, this guy is so downtown.
One of those like crazy floppy like
he's got like a
hats.
big ass comb that he's putting in, and he's like, what are you girls doing later?
Yeah. Trump does appear to have had he was trying to be like a cool guy back then.
Trump?
Yeah. Oh, not Trump, excuse me. Jeffrey Epstein back then was trying to be like a little bit street, a little bit hip. You know what I'm saying? But he also went to parties with kids from the school.
Which sounds both like Jeffrey Epstein and like a bad thing.
Like we don't have any there's been no allegations.
No.
There's been no allegations.
The New York Times tried.
I think people have really, looked into it. No allegations, but he was very familiar with a lot of these students.
Yeah, there was one person that said that they recalled him having a close relationship with one of their peers when they were there. And suffice to say, his tenure at Dalton didn't last long. He was dismissed, though the school never said why. But what's funny is that he lands his feet at Bear Stearns thanks to Ace Greenberg, who personally hired him. Hired him as a low-level trader, and he, Epstein very famously worked his way up to partner by 1980.
And this is actually like the only, like this is the last like real job that we can actually like have on record as Jeffrey Epstein doing. Like after this, well, listen, so he does well there.
Yeah. He made a lot of people a lot of money in the kind of big newly opened back up options market. I guess he really understood derivatives very well. Bayer put him in charge of something called the Special Products Division, where he basically was in charge of getting wealthy clients information on how to avoid paying taxes. And I do think that Epstein had basically like an engineer's gift for envisioning like the transfer of funds through different financial vehicles, because that is something that we do know about what he ends up doing much later or through the rest of his life is basically just hiding people's money through various shell companies and being very adept at, you know, setting up, whether it's like philanthropic funds or charities or bullshit companies or all these different kind of special vehicles or whatever, that's like what he did for people like Les Wexner or
Leon Black
or fucking Bill Gates or whoever, right?
Yeah, and like that's to hone in on that a little bit more. Like we actually know very little about the specifics of Jeffrey Epstein's business throughout the majority of his life.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that stuff's very opaque. There's been very notable instances of like him having these companies with empty offices. Like nobody actually like seen him work really ever.
Yeah.
But from what we can gather from like who his clients were, what they sort of like say or like intimate what he did for them or does or did for them, I guess does when he was still alive, is basically precisely what you're describing, like laundering money.
Yeah, money laundering.
Yeah,
basically.
whether legal or illegal, money laundering and like moving assets and funds around in ways to avoid prying eyes.
Yeah, totally.
And also like probably sexual blackmail.